Hi, I'm Rachel.
And I'm Matt.
Welcome to the Strange and Beautiful Book Club. We're late. I know we're late. I'm so sorry.
Just don't worry about it.
I don't know why the first Friday of the month sneaks up on me when it's not. I don't know. It's like every time I'm shocked. Oh my God, already? Okay, when it's like 1, 2, or 3, I get it. But when it's slightly later, there's literally, I don't know. I don't know what happens in my head, but I'm so loosely attached to time that I'm like, is it October? Oh shit, tomorrow's Friday. Fuck. That's usually how it goes. The exact play-by-play. I need to do the second Friday of the month. So I've got one to prepare. And then, no, I'm going to keep challenging myself. It's good to push yourself, right? Like Stephen King pushed himself to write this very relevant short story that definitely was needed for the Dark Tower universe.
Our final episode on the Dark Tower.
Yeah.
I guess our final planned episode at the moment on the Dark Tower.
Right.
Maybe if a new series.
We're going to change our Facebook
adaptation.
status to open to opportunities.
So this is
Little
Stephen
Sisters.
King's 1998 publication.
Little Sisters of Eluria.
Or How Roland Gets a Non-Consensual Hand Job and Contemplates the Question, would I still love my girlfriend if she turned into a swarm of insects?
Not a worm, but a swarm of insects. Okay. All right. I think the first and most important question to tackle here is, does this add anything to the Dark Tower universe? Or is it a vanity project?
The latter.
I think it's important to note. Okay. I took the liberty of going in and writing down the publication dates for all of the Dark Tower series books.
Yeah.
The Gunslinger is written in 1982. The Drawing of the Three is published in 1987. The Wasteland is published in 1991, so he's at a rate of about every 5 or 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
Wizard and Glass is 1997, which fits the pattern. Little Sisters of Eluria is published in a publication called Legends in 1998, so just 1 year after Wizard and Glass.
Okay.
And then Wolves of the Kala doesn't come out until 2003.
Right.
And then Song of Susanna and Dark Tower are 2004.
But the rewrite of Gunslinger, or I guess the revision of Gunslinger, wasn't it published the same time as this?
No, later.
Oh.
Around the time that he released the final 3.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So this is immediately following Wizard and Glass. So if you were reading along in the Dark Tower universe, you would have just read the backstory novel where we found out that
About
Roland's
Susan.
backstory is what it is. And then if you were the kind of reader that seeks out all content in a universe and you read this, it would be you're reading about Roland prior to all Dark Tower events.
Right.
So this takes place before the first novel.
Right.
So unlike Wind Through the Keyhole, which is sort of slotted in between Wizard and Glass and Wolves of the Kala, this is off and by itself. So it doesn't interfere with the main story, although apparently he references Sister Jenna in Wolves of the Kala. I guess he says that after Susanna, there was only one woman of note and then no one else.
Okay.
And he's implying it's Sister Jenna. And these are the same bugs that we meet at the Dixie Pig. Remember the little bugs that are living underneath and the ones that are inside the helmet in the Dogan?
Gotcha.
the little doctors.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the only real tie-in events, I guess, to this particular thing. Maybe also the fact that when Callahan is like, so anyway, there's vampires. He's like, I mean, yeah. Roland's like, okay. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say this is one of the ones that I should have read. Should have read physically with a book.
Okay,
Because
with your eyeballs.
The only way I could find this was audiobook. I didn't have any way to get that Everything's Eventual, which is what we read it in, because it was on hold at the library or unavailable. So the only way I could get this was an audiobook. So I listened to it. And for some reason, unknown to anyone in the known universe, Roland has a Southern accent in this one.
Oh, because of the guy that got to read it.
Yeah, the guy. I mean, that we know why. Like, we know it's the guy who read it was like, well, I think he sounds like Clint Eastwood if Clint Eastwood was from Mississippi.
Oh, so you think it's like a southeastern accent?
Yeah, I think it was
than
like
a southwest accent.
Yeah, and so I think that might have been part of why I struggled for just hearing Roland being like, okay, partner, well, I don't know if that's what you think. And I was like, okay, I can't. That's not what Roland sounds like. I have listened to enough of the audiobooks I now have a favorite audiobook reader. And I have a favorite Roland voice, and this ain't it. Like, he was not it. It was okay. It was fine. It was a story. I think as a standalone story, it works just fine. As someone who was like, ooh, more Dark Tower content, you're like, oh, okay.
Where's the rest of it?
That is a thing that occurred in Roland's past. Okay. It explains why he knows about slow mutants, I guess, because in the Dark Tower, when he and Jake are traveling through the mountain, he's like, oh shit, slow mutants.
You mean Gunslinger? Or, yeah, Gunslinger.
Yeah, he and Jake, though. Jake and Gunslinger.
Okay, you said the Dark Tower.
Oh, you know.
And Gunslinger.
The Dark Tower 1, the Gunslinger from 1982. When he's, you know, the man in black fled across the desert and the Gunslinger followed. When he's following the man in black through the mountain, they meet slow mutants. And he's like, oh, fuck, slow mutants.
Not again.
Oh, great. I have a history with these
Last time
dudes.
they knocked me out.
Right, because that's what happens. I mean, if you haven't read this, let me sum it up real quick. In case you couldn't find it too.
Roland gets beat up.
Yeah, Roland gets beat up he finds a deserted town called Eluria, which when we were walking around the deserted town, I was like, oh, okay, this is going to be fun. This is going to be like a murder mystery. Where'd all the people go? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where all the people went. The slow mutants show up. He's doing an admirable job. He's not quite Roland yet, so he's not just outright killing all of them calmly and methodically.
Ooh, this is before the time loop.
You think so? Yes, it is. You're right.
So this is the youngest we've ever seen Roland.
Oh my God, that is
the flashback.
Wow, this
in
is
Wizard and Glass.
That's an excellent point. Okay, so he's not the Roland who has knowledge. He's not
the unstoppable force of Ka.
Yeah.
Eddie.
There was a line in it that I really liked.
Okay.
There was a part where somebody asks him a question like, why is this happening? And it says, the gunslinger answered now, as he always would, when it was a question that defied answering. And he just goes, Ka. And I was like, ah! I like that. That was a really good moment. That may have made the entire short story worth it. It was just to be like, yeah, Roland says that when he doesn't know what the fucking answer is.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay, all right, that's really good. But he shows up in this town. He can't tell where anybody is. There's a note that's like, they went to the Green Man. And he's like, the Green people? What? That doesn't even matter. And he goes to leave. And there's a dead body and a water trough. And he's like, ew, gross. Ooh, look, a shiny thing. And he pulls the guy's necklace off.
Yeah.
Because in his mind, he thinks, I will find this person's family and I will give them their necklace back. And then the slow mutants show up and he's like, oh shit. So he just slips the necklace into his pocket and he ends up getting beat up by the slow mutants and passing out. And when he wakes up, he's in like traction. He's in a sling. Hanging from the ceiling, I think. Except it's a tent. But he's hanging in some sort of contraption because bugs are crawling on his back and his legs to heal him.
Right.
And he meets Sister Jenna and the other little sisters of Eluria, which they remind him of Rhea of the Coos.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Doesn't he think later that he sees 7 copies of Rhea?
Yeah. He's like, wow, they're really like Rhea of the Coos. Okay. Because they're really old, but also maybe young. And anyway, they're vampires. But they're not just vampires. They're vampires who can turn into evil bugs. But they turn into evil bugs as the final form of their evolution.
I was wondering about this because he says, oh, now I know what they are. What are they, Roland?
What are they, Roland?
Can you tell us, please?
Can you throw us a fucking bone here?
And I thought, okay, like vampires, I guess. But then Jenna turns into bugs. But she was special amongst
She had the dark
sisters.
bells. But we don't know what that means.
They implied that she, by bloodline, was my interpretation, was different, special.
Yeah.
And so she could do things. She had capabilities that the rest of them did not.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, yes, I get that because she has the dark bells. Everyone else has, so they're wearing like nuns' habits with the white wimple and the hood. And then they have bells stitched along the edge of their habit. And they can move their head side to side and make the bells jingle. And that controls the doctor bugs.
Mm-hmm.
So she has bells that are darker than everybody else's. He says it looks like they were charred.
Okay.
Or oxidized or something. And so they're like, oh, yeah, Sister Jenna of the dark bells. And he's like, oh, that must be special. Okay. What that is specifically, I don't think we really cover.
Yeah.
It must be something because the other women are old and they haven't turned into
bugs, yeah.
But Jenna is actually young and she does turn into bugs. So by process of elimination, the dark bells must be you are going to eventually become the doctors, the little bugs.
Maybe she is the larval form of the doctor bugs.
I mean, sure. Okay. Because he's getting better and there's a guy next to him.
That reminds there's a meme about like an early 2000s meme, not like modern meme, about where do birds go when it rains? And there's an XKCD comic strip about where the alt text is, well, there are some very unusual forms of water, so, with the implication that the birds turn into the rain as an explanation for where do the birds go when it rains.
Okay.
That's why you don't see birds and rain at the same time.
Right, because they turn into the rain. Okay.
Because birds themselves are just
like Clark
a strange form of water. Yeah.
Prince Adam and He-Man.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for that contribution.
Jenna is just the larval form.
Where's
of the
Jenna? She's
little
safe.
doctor bugs.
She's safe. It's fine. But she can't turn back into Jenna.
Not after the last time.
No. Well, I don't think she's ever the bugs.
Probably
she controls
not.
the
Probably
bugs.
not. Yeah. Yeah. Because they show up when she's there.
I think if we try to assign any amount of logic to this, our heads will just spin around and we'll die. I think that's how.
Oh no! Give me a couple hours.
oh! I know you can bullshit your way through this.
We can throw some time travel in there.
What did Eddie say? A bullshitter knows a bullshitter.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can see the bullshit from here.
She's a 4-dimensional
special
creature.
There you go. That's it. I don't know. It's okay. He must be on a bed with his legs in the air.
It's probably a bed frame with the cables, the traction cables.
Because when he gets the non-consensual hand job, which I want to point out, he's laying there next to this buddy who he has told everyone that is his brother.
Mm-hmm.
And Sister Jenna is like, stick to the story no matter what. Because she doesn't want them to know that he's a gunslinger.
Right. And it'll be bad for her, too.
Yeah.
If they find out that she lied.
And he's wearing a gold medallion, which gold is something that repels them. So that's good to know. And there's a guy over on another bed, and he's better. So they're like, good, snacky time. So they show up in the middle of the night, like giggling with each other, like, hee, whoo. That's all I could think. Because he's like, oh, they were giggling and having a good time like little children or like teenage girls or something. I was like, what are they like? Like
I was imagining
it's a creepy image, to be
I was
honest.
imagining like the witches in Stardust,
Yeah.
where they're all old and decrepit, but then they can eat something and get some youth back.
Yeah, get back the youths. I just read The Devils by Joe Abercrombie, and there's a vampire character in that. And as time goes on, every time people see him, they're like, wow,
He's younger and younger.
He looks a lot younger than he did last time. And eventually he's a youth, like a young man with completely jet black hair. And everyone around him is instantly attracted to him at all times. And he's like, it's a burden. And maybe it's kind of like that. I'm trying to think. There's a movie where they go down to the morgue to find somebody, and there's nuns traveling down the hallway, and they're like talking to each other and singing, but they're floating down the hallway, and it totally doesn't fit the whole rest of the movie. Death Becomes Her. It's in Death Becomes Her. It's when Bruce Willis's character is walking down to the morgue to get his wife out of the morgue, and 3 ghostly nuns come down the hallway at him. That's how I pictured them moving around the hospital the entire time. Because they're wearing the nun habit and they're just like, like floating around. I don't know. It was better when I pictured it that way.
Yeah.
But then he's so upset by the vision of this guy getting eaten, which he can hear them slurping and smacking as they're eating this man.
Yeah.
And he's like, wow, I have an erection right now, because they're walking back by. And he says,
I thought he didn't get an erection until they were talking about him. They were standing next to his bed and talking about him. And then she says, and then
he just
and
says,
then he gets the erection.
He just says, it wasn't just me that woke up when they came into the room. It woke something else up too. Because he was like,
Morning wood.
He was like, women, am I right? It's been a while. It's been since Susan, so I guess I can probably get an erection. So they're like, oh, what's this? And so they give him a hand job while they think he's sleeping.
Not a long one.
No, because it says almost immediately warmth spread down his shaft or whatever. And then they all eat it, which is a great moment for everyone. I'm so glad I was present for that. And then they leave, and then he remembers them for the whole rest of the short story by who ate it and who didn't. Oh, she licked my spen, is what he says to. Yeah. I was like, great, good. I'm glad we could find a way to classify all of these different nuns. And then he ends up fleeing with Sister Jenna, which it felt a little bit like all the good stuff happened off page. Because he's just laying there, alternating getting drugged and taking a stimulant to keep himself from falling asleep after he gets drugged.
Yeah.
And then she shows up and she's like, haha, I'm ready to escape. I have made it so that we can get out of here.
And I've stashed some of your stuff.
And you're like, oh, dang it. All the fun stuff happened off page. We could have done with a couple of chapters from Sister Jenna's point of view.
Right?
And so they're leaving and she's like, oh, hey, I hate to really admit this, but like, I've eaten people. And he's like, I've done worse. I still think you're hot. And then they stop in this cave and he's like, would you like to fuck? And she's like, well, you make a compelling argument, but like maybe later. So they just make out. And he says that he's really attracted to her, more attracted than he's been to anybody since Susan.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, I could fuck that. Yeah, I think I could fuck that. And then he wakes up and because he hears her screaming and he just sees her shoes and he's like, oh no, her shoes. And then he sees her pants and he's like, oh no, her pants. And her shirt is still tucked into her pants. And he's like, how do you take off your pants and your shirt and you still have your shirt tucked into your pants? She's a magician. And then he's like, oh no, there's bugs everywhere. And then they turn into the curl that was forever escaping from her head covering.
Yeah.
And then they disappear. And he's like, oh my God, she turned into bugs. Well, I dodged a bullet. I didn't fuck the bug lady. And that's the end of it.
He kind of contemplates how much effort it must have taken for her now, like, disembodied swarm to still have enough mind left
to come back
to
together,
coordinate that symbol.
Yeah.
To communicate back to him in some way.
He's like, wow, it was really important to her. I'm a really good dude. That's my takeaway from this. It's fine. It felt like watching Stephen King masturbate. That's what this short story felt like. If you want me to be honest about it, because it was pointless. I didn't get to join in. I didn't experience any pleasure from it, but I got to watch him having a good time. So that's what it felt like. There's a whole part where the slow mutant shows up and they use him to get the gold medallion off of the guy he's claiming to be his brother so that they can then eat that guy. And the slow mutant tears out the guy's throat to distract them so that he can flee. And it all feels very interesting. And if it were part of a larger narrative, you'd be like, okay, this is compelling. I'm interested. But in terms of a short story, it leaves you like, okay, all right, fine. You know what? This is better if you haven't finished the series.
Yeah.
If you're reading through, you got to Wizard and Glass. You were as wildly disappointed in Wizard and Glass as me. And then you find out that there's another short story. You're like, ooh, more content. And then you read it like, ooh, okay, this is a prequel. Okay, that's great. Good. Instead of you've finished it, you know where it's all going. You've hit every high note. And then you come back and you're like, what? Why was Roland turned on by them eating somebody? That's weird. It doesn't hit the same.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was fine. It was fine. If you're the kind of person if you're a completionist and you want to read everything about the Dark Tower, I mean, go ahead. Would it have been compelling as a short story separate from any other story? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It has a beginning, a middle, and an end. It has a compelling narrative. It has interesting characters. I'm interested in the world and the magic that's presented in it. But as a part of the Dark Tower,
Right.
I think Went Through the Keyhole was more successful. I think Went Through the Keyhole added a lot. I think it added a lot of understanding of Roland and the world.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that this adds anything, except for some reason, everyone, whether you're human or not, wants to fuck Roland.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
The slow mutants didn't want to. They didn't want to fuck him.
No. But Jenna wanted to fuck him.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Real bad.
Did this fall in his cocaine years? When are his cocaine years? Did he get really high and he woke up and there was a short story from the Dark Tower and he was like, well, who am I to look a gift horse in the mouth? Overall, I'm glad we read it while you're tip-tapping away there trying to look it up. Because I'm glad that we finished everything that's available for the Dark Tower. Because I would have been wondering what was in this story. And now I have to wonder no longer. And I think in terms of the wider Dark Tower universe, I'm glad we read the whole thing. So it makes me glad we read this too. I'm just not sure how much it really adds to the world. You know, if you'd only read Wizard and Glass, you don't know that vampires exist in this universe yet. I actually think that it spoils it, having finished it and then going back. You should really read this short story after Wizard and Glass when it was originally published.
Yeah.
Because once you get through Wolves of the Kala and you talk to Father Callahan, you're like, oh, okay, shit. All right, yeah. And then you get to Song of Susanna and you're like, wow, okay, that's really cool. But if you'd read Little Sisters of Eluria, you're like, oh my God, are those the same bugs?
Mm-hmm.
Are those the same vampires? Oh, okay. All right. So when you met Father Callahan, you'd be like, oh shit, we're about to get vampires. Vampires are about to come back. So for maximum impact, read this after Wizard and Glass. So in that context, I can see it being a very influential. I can see it adding a lot. I can see it being influential and adding a lot to the Dark Tower if you read it in the right moment.
Right.
And I guess it was originally not originally, but later when they re-released the Dark Tower, some editions included this. Kind of like the cartoon in front of a Pixar story, Pixar movie.
For all we know, half of all English language horror fiction published between 1978 and 1986 was written by a doped up Stephen King under various aliases that were never discovered. Because at one point he was writing so many books that he came up with an alias so that his editors would not complain that he was saturating the market.
Yeah,
for
by the
Stephen
Bachman
King.
books. Yeah.
Yeah, Bachman.
That's, I mean, I believe it. Sure. Yes. Okay. Can you imagine? He must have been like a man possessed, just writing constantly, banging out novels, sending them off to the editor, and then having another novel ready in the queue.
Right?
That puts it too late, though. This is 1998. Unless he wrote it during that, and then he discovered it, and he was like, shit, I don't remember writing this. Okay, great. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's mentioned that he has several books that he does not remember writing.
Yeah, I think this fits with the Roland of the Dark Tower, the gunslinger, the first one.
Yeah.
Because Roland changes so much over the series. I think the one, if you want to make,
Okay.
if you want to make
late 80s, he got sober.
Okay.
But then I saw something about after his car accident in 99. Well, this says he didn't break his sobriety at that time, but he was pretty stoned when he wrote Dreamcatcher on pain medication.
Yeah. That sounds correct. Yes. I think if you wanted to have a positive note about this book, it's that he does a good job of putting the right Roland in the right place.
Mm-hmm.
It's not later book Roland, it's early book Roland.
Right. Post Jake Roland would have had a lot more introspection.
Yeah.
A lot more inner monologue going on.
Not
But this
ho-hum.
is still This is still Clint Eastwood, the nameless man.
This is
Roland.
I would fuck a lady with a gun to help her get rid of her unborn child, Roland. I'm never letting that go. It lives forever in
From
my
the
head.
gunslinger?
Yeah, from the gunslinger.
Yeah.
That's this Roland. And that is hard to do, to roll back the character development and come back to this character and put him back in his place and be back in that mindset and have him act the way he would have acted really prior to the drawing of the three.
Right. Yeah, that's that. I'm thinking about it from a like coding perspective, like getting back into the mindset of, oh, these are the ways I was thinking about solving problems back when I solved this problem versus like, oh, wow, I have better ways of solving those kinds of problems now.
Roland actually goes through like parental adolescence. So when you have a kid, when you have a child, you go through a second adolescence. You go
I have
through
not heard parental adolescence before.
I made that up.
Oh, hell yeah.
Well, it's because we know you change. We know there's a fundamental shift when you have children, which if you're child free, go off, be fine. You don't have to go through this thing. It's
no pressure from us.
It's an optional skill point that you can skill tree. You can keep going up one skill tree and you can get more skilled in that direction, or you can branch and go off on another skill tree.
Yeah.
And both you're leveling up in both. You're just leveling up differently. But some of the things that happen when you have kids is like your amygdala turns on in a way
Yeah.
that it doesn't before. And so you are more aware of danger. You're more aware of the world around you.
You're more vigilant.
Right.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
you're
vigilant is the, I think, psychological term.
you're vigilant for your children because you have to make sure that you're aware of what's happening and where they are and if they need you.
Although I remember reading books slightly before and slightly after having children. And one of the topics was, like, at the time, like mid 2010s, there was recent neurological research on parental, like, neurological development. And pretty much when a couple has their first child
Yeah.
and the child is waking up in the middle of the night, there's a dynamic where one parent becomes the one who responds to the child in the middle of the night.
Yeah. And this happens regardless of gender. Like
Right.
same-sex parents,
it can-
adoptive
and
child,
it's-
doesn't matter.
It's pretty even split. But then for the rest of that parent's life, that, like, they actually go through, in this case it's me. you basically, like, vigilance thing
Yeah.
turns on in your brain and you become a lighter sleeper
Yeah.
and you wake up before your partner forever. Like, forever. The rest of your life.
You don't turn
You
that
are
shit
the
off.
lighter sleeper.
Yeah.
When there's a noise in the middle of the night, you are the one who wakes up.
Yes.
In our case, it was me.
Yes.
I think this was definitely influenced by our agreement ahead of time that after the whole birth trauma, it's my responsibility to go get the baby and bring it.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I feel like
And
that's
then-
just a
then
simple
put it back to
division of
bed.
labor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so Roland has to go through this.
He does.
He does. He goes
becomes
through
a
it.
parent. He really becomes a parent after the drawing of the three
Mm-hmm.
because he has to parent Eddie. He has to parent
Yes.
Eddie.
Yep.
And then he has to parent Odetta until she becomes Susanna.
Mm-hmm.
Until they marry each other and they are each other's support structure. He has to grow up and help them grow up too.
Right.
In a way that he never had to before.
Right.
And
when you read the beginning of Gunslinger,
yeah, he's a different man.
that is Bachelor Roland.
That's Bachelor Roland. That's
Yeah.
pre-child Roland. And then he gets Jake, and he starts the process when he gets Jake because he falls in love with Jake and he becomes Jake's father.
Right. But
And then he lets
he
Jake
hasn't-
die.
yeah, he lets Jake die,
Yeah,
but then he regrets that.
he does deeply.
Yeah.
But then he goes through that whole period where he's going insane because he's not sure if Jake is alive or if Jake is dead
Mhm.
or both.
Cognitive dissonance.
And it's a huge, you don't appreciate how much Roland has grown by the end because you're like a frog in the water.
Right.
It's slowly boiling around you and you don't realize how hot it's gotten. So you don't see how much Roland has changed until you go and revisit something like this short story and you're like,
And maybe
oh,
that's
okay.
the real value of this story is you get Roland. The readers have been slowly boiling in the water
yeah,
through Wizarding Glass. And then we get Little Sisters of Eluria. And it's like, oh, we had Roland who's telling stories by the campfire to build team morale and camaraderie and express, like, perform like real vulnerability in front of his quartet.
yeah,
And then we get, so the whole story with Susan is through the lens of parentified Roland
yeah,
telling his own backstory. It's not Stephen King telling the story of child Roland directly. It's Stephen King telling the story from parentified Roland's perspective
yeah,
of young Roland's childhood. So it's very different than Little Sisters of Eluria because now we're seeing we get some contrast
You get raw young Roland. Yeah. I think that's a good way of putting it. I think that Stephen King's perception of sex also has matured by the time we get to Wolves of the Kala versus when he's writing this. So when he's writing this, it's Roland being like, that chick's hot. I'd bang her. And then he has the most. We just watched Zardoz.
Zardoz.
with
Cinematic
Anarchy, which we did an episode with them. If you want to hear us chat about it, that's at Cinematic Anarchy. Chris is a wonderful guy. You should definitely check him out. But there is a part where Sean Connery's sweat brings these immortal people who have become too apathetic to even move back to life, because the sexiness is sweating out of him and it brings them back into horniness and therefore into life. I wish I was making this up. I'm not. I experienced it. You should probably also experience it. Like, maybe go check it out. But where was I? Why did I bring up Zardoz? Just a minute. So,
the evolution of his perception.
No, the part after he
talks about sex.
When he brings back the people that are apathetic, the apathetics.
In Zardoz,
They start kissing each other as a way to spread his sweat around and bring them all back to life. And Matt went, that is the least erotic kissing I've ever seen in my life. The part where Roland gets the non-consensual handy. I've had too much gin to say consensual that quickly. The part where Roland gets the non-consensual handy is the least erotic hand job I've ever read in my life. He doesn't even describe it as an orgasm. He's just like, well, they touched me and I jizzed on him. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, not sorry. I didn't have any control over that.
Some stuff came out.
They literally just go pump, pump, and it came right out like you push down on a soap dispenser. That's what it feels like. It is so clinical. And then he's talking about Sister Jenna, and he's like, she's really hot. There's a stirring in my loins for Sister Jenna because she's really nice and she's noble and she's really, really pretty. And her hair is really pretty and everything about her is pretty. And yeah, I'd fuck her. And it's portrayed to us as like genuine attraction, where it's really just him. He doesn't know anything about her.
Right.
It's just him being like, I mean, I'd hit it. I would hit it. And then you get to the Wolves of the Kala and you think about his relationship with the lady, with Father Callahan's maid lady, Rosalina?
I think Rosalina.
Rosa.
Yeah.
It's a very mature sort of, we need each other for comfort right now, but this isn't about love. And that's okay.
Right. It's not about, I want to have a relationship with you for the rest of my life. This is a physical interaction, but also a psychological like comfort and safety.
It's comfort. Yeah.
It's very heavy into the psychological safety and comfort angle rather than just physical stimulation.
Yeah, it's not about the seeking of pleasure. It's about seeking intimacy and connection with another human being.
Yeah.
And that's a far more mature way to view sex, which is like, this is part of two people becoming greater than the sum of their parts. This is about us leaning on each other in the most intimate way possible and being as vulnerable as you can be with another person as a show of trust and safety.
And in the end, finding pleasure in that.
Yeah.
But
the
it's
pleasure
really
is not
just
exclusive.
about
you can't. It's not one or the other.
The intimacy and companionship.
Yeah. And then you look at Little Sisters of Eluria, where he's just like, I'd hit it. It's a far less mature view of what it looks like to seek companionship or to seek intimacy or to seek connection with another individual. And it's interesting to see where he was and then where in a very short period of time he's going to be.
Yeah.
But also, and I was defending Stephen King the other day because this is something I think that Stephen King does so seamlessly that you forget he's doing it And I do think that it gets him into trouble with a lot of readers because they are not maintaining the perspective that Stephen King is always writing from the point of view of his POV character.
Mm-hmm.
So when he's writing in Little Sisters of Eluria and he's making all of the observations, they are from Roland's point of view. They are in Roland's language. They are with Roland's knowledge of the world and the way that Roland expresses himself.
Through the lens of Roland.
And sometimes he ends up saying some really cuckoo bananas bullshit. And it's because that's what pops up in somebody's head. And then he writes it down. So when he's writing as a character. He's never writing as Stephen King. Only really in
Stephen King is not the narrator of the story.
Never. Yeah. And so the way that he's writing is always colored by the character who is thinking the thoughts, even if it's third person limited.
Right.
I think really the only place that we ever see Stephen King writing as Stephen King are those second person asides in the Dark Tower, the final book in the Dark Tower series, which is significant when you think about it because it's also the only series that he's actually in. So it's the only time that he would even be able to write from his own perspective because he himself is a character in his own book. So he can write from his own perspective because he's in it. So somebody put up one of his really batshit lines, something about boobies. I can't even remember exactly what it was. And they were like, I want to ask Stephen King why I was forced to read this. Or like why he wrote this and now it lives in my head. And I think it's important to remember that when he's writing as Roland, even though Roland is a third person character, he's writing third person limited, he's still writing as Roland, as if Roland is writing it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so sometimes he says things. The one specifically I'm referencing is this lady was talking about a part in another book where he was discussing that this girl's chest had been crushed and it was a chest that would now no longer grow breasts. And so she was like, wow, yeah, because a little girl's worth is really only measured in how much of a woman she's going to be. We can't talk about how anything else about her or about what she lost, just that, well, shit, now she's not going to have boobs. And yeah, that's not a great line. I'll admit it. There's a lot of problematic stuff happening in that line, but he's probably writing from a problematic character's point of view. And so that is intended to invoke a response, and it does. You are intended to find that description jarring. So it pulls you out. No, at no point in Stephen King's writing do you disappear into the description and you stop seeing it because it's just providing you with information. It's the character's voice and you're listening to it. And so it forces you to keep paying attention to what's happening in the book. And I think even in this little tiny throwaway short story that ultimately is largely irrelevant to everything else that happens, it's still very Stephen King.
Yeah.
I still feel like there's a very strong voice in the story. And so if you had to come up with something positive to say about it, that's another one you could add to the list. Is even though it really is ultimately meaningless, he still gives it his usual amount of attention and flair. And so I appreciated it for that.
Yeah, I agree with you that Stephen King's writing is very heavy into the I'm sitting inside of the POV character's head and just translating their observations.
Right. He's not the water. He's the pipe the water flows through.
As quoting Stephen King.
Quoting Stephen King.
About Stephen King.
Yes, correct. The foremost authority on Stephen King, a.k.a. himself. I think that's probably a good place to leave it. There's not a lot to talk about this because it really doesn't tie in. It doesn't have any other characters that we'll ever see again except the bugs.
And we've read
and talked about all the Dark Towers. So I don't want to spend time rehashing things that we probably talked about in at least one of the last 3 or 4 episodes. So Matthew, what are you currently reading?
Oh.
How many books do you currently have going?
Okay, I picked back up Sunbringer today.
Okay.
Yesterday? Yesterday. I picked back up Sunbringer yesterday.
That's your paper
I'm
book.
still working. That's one physical book.
Yeah.
I'm also still working through the hard copy. Well, I guess I was reading the new translation of the Odyssey, the Emily Wilson Odyssey. I had a digital copy, but I had to return that. But we were in Stratford,
Yes.
and the very nice bookstore in Stratford had both Emily Wilson's Odyssey translation as well as the Iliad. So I bought both of those. So I've been working through the paper hard copy of the Odyssey a few times a week. I pick it up, and I was talking to a friend at work, and he said, "How do you read multiple books at a time?" Because I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm reading this book and this book and this book and that other book."
I don't know, dude. You just do.
And he's like, "You're reading the Odyssey, like with a bunch of other books?" And I was like, "It's kind of dense, like." So I read it and then I can like chew on it
Yeah.
in background processing, and then I can go back to it when I'm ready. And let's see. So I got Sunbringer, Odyssey. I just finished listening to Sisters of Eluria
Yeah.
on audiobook.
One hopes.
I listened to. There's an author I really like called Charlie Jane Anders. And she wrote a book called All the Birds in the Sky, which is one of the best like surrealist fiction books I've ever read. But she also wrote a YA series that starts with Victories Greater Than Death. So I listened to Victories Greater Than Death, and that was pretty good. I need to find the sequel.
Well, I read The Color of Magic, which by, the huge Terry Pratchett. And I have started it probably 17 times. And so I finally got the audiobook and I could listen to it while I was driving around. And I was like, there's no pressure, Rachel. You can just read whatever you want to read. You don't have to read this whole thing. And I was like, all right, fine. And so I managed to finish it. And it occurred to me that I may not like purely comedy
Comedy
books,
fantasy.
even if it's fantasy.
Yeah.
That I just might not be a thing that I like. Because I liked it. It was fun. I was in no way inspired to immediately pick up the next one. It was okay. It was fine. If I had to sit down and read it and devote time to it, I probably wouldn't have done it. And then I read The Devils by Joe Abercrombie, which I mentioned. And that one is also comedy, but it's black comedy. And I liked that. I'm wondering if I would like Joe Abercrombie's books that are more serious with a little comedy thrown in. But
right?
it was really enjoyable. The characters were really enjoyable.
Mm-hmm.
Characters that I thought were not going to grow and not be interesting actually spent a lot of time growing and being interesting.
Yeah.
And I have to give it a lot of credit for that. And I read Flora and Ulysses with the Kids by Kate DiCamillo, who's my favorite elementary fiction author.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about like anything Kate DiCamillo does, it's a little bit about a squirrel that gains superpowers by being sucked up in the vacuum cleaner, but it's also about life and the meaning of life and relationships and what it means to be believed and the power of being believed and the power of finding your own inner strength and how physical strength and physical abilities like superpowers are actually not the same thing as being a strong person. Because Kate DiCamillo cannot do just one thing. And my favorite line from the whole book was, I am Ulysses, born anew, because the squirrel gets named Ulysses because it's a Ulysses vacuum cleaner that sucks him up. Mm-hmm. So they name him Ulysses. And so the first thing he ever writes is, I am Ulysses, born anew. And that was really good.
Okay.
Did you find another book you were reading?
I listened to A Dragon of Black Glass,
Okay.
which is number 3 in James Rollins's series called, what's the name of the series? The first book is The Starless Crown. Oh, the series is called Moonfall.
Okay.
And I thought it was 3 books in the series. But then I got about 3/4 of the way through this book and I'm like, they're not going to wrap up the whole plot. Okay, it's going to be 4 books. so I finished book 3. Waiting for book 4 to come out, which book 4 just came out. I put in a request for it on NetGalley before it got released. It just got released like within the last couple months, I think. So, oh no, February. Wow, February.
That's a while ago, honey.
That feels too long ago.
Yeah.
Okay, so so it's gonna be a while before book 4. Although James Rollins is one of those guys who pumps out books, so maybe a year.
Okay.
What else?
I'll tell you what else we're going to be reading.
I haven't made any progress on any other books I'm reading.
I'll tell you what else we're going to be reading. Are you ready?
Are we doing it again?
We're doing it! We're fucking doing it, y'all. We're going to do Dune next. We're going to do Dune Messiah,
So
Children of Dune,
For our
Emperor,
Dune
God
Deep
Emperor of
Dive,
Dune.
which is published as a whole separate podcast,
Yeah.
we
Also
covered
in the streaming
first
Bilbo
3.
places.
Yeah, we covered the first 3 Dune books. The first 3 Frank Herbert Dune books.
Yeah.
Of the original
Canonical
6.
six.
Yeah,
The original canonical 6. Yeah.
And I had read the final 3, but Rachel never picked up the slack or whatever.
Listen, do you know how many podcasts I do where I have to read for them?
So we're going to reread and re-podcast the first 3 books.
Yep. Dune.
And then we'll finish
Dune Messiah,
with
Children
the
of
final
Dune.
3.
And then we'll do God Emperor of Dune, Heretics of Dune, and Chapter House Dune.
Yep.
So we're gonna do the whole first canonical 6. I am
over the next 6 months.
very excited. I've already started Dune again. I am so excited. I've been wanting to read Dune again, and I feel like I want to have the same discussion, but I want to see if we come out with new things. Like, I want to have new stuff to say about it.
Yeah.
Because I feel like a lot has happened in the world since the last time we talked about Dune.
Something relevant is I saw it was like a Twitter post or something the other day. It was like on the Butlerian Jihad Doomsday Clock, we're at 15 minutes to midnight.
Yes.
In response to all the generative AI large language model stuff.
Yeah. The first time we talked about Dune was really pre-AI boom. And
ChatGPT was around.
Yeah.
But it had not gone viral yet.
Same. Yeah. So I'm just really excited about chatting about it with you. Because I feel like there's a lot that we can add, especially about AI, about the role of computers in our lives, about the idea of the savior narrative and the false savior narrative, and what happens when you mistake a cult of personality figurehead as a savior character. And I really just think that there's a lot of data to mine from that. And I'm really excited about it. So I guess that's probably a good place to leave it. I feel like we talked about Sisters of Eluria.
Yeah.
And I'm just ready. We'll be back the first Friday in November.
Maybe.
Probably.
We'll try.
Yes, we're going to do it. We're professional podcasters. Also, this is important. I set up a Ko-Fi. So if you're the kind of person who's not interested in being a member or paying monthly dues, we now have a one-off donation option. One-off tip I think I have it as buy us a cup of hot jala from
Babylon 5.
Babylon 5.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're interested in doing that, we appreciate the support. We do this for fun. I want to keep this ad free.
We already got a donation.
I know we did. I set it up and we got a donation like immediately.
So
and I was
cool.
like, is this a scam? is it?
Was it anonymous?
No. No,
Okay.
it wasn't. So thank you to that person whose name I will write down and thank more formally next time. But yes, thank you so much. It was in fact not a scam. Somebody actually just paid us and I was like, why though? No, it's fine. I get it. It's, I started this because I don't know if anybody else grew up in a boomer household, but your opinion.
Boomer fundamental religious household.
But your opinion and what you had to say about things was literally the least interesting thing that you could contribute to a conversation.
Not only the least interesting, but
It was
potentially
unwelcome.
the most offensive thing
Yeah.
you can say is
Yes.
to provide your own opinion.
Right. And so I started this as a way because I realized that I had grown up in a way that did not encourage me to share myself with other people because that was how you got hurt.
Right.
And
being vulnerable
right.
exposes you to being attacked.
And so I decided that the best way to encourage myself to start sharing myself and my interests with other people and with you
Mm-hmm.
was to force myself to talk about the things that I loved at length.
Yeah. Podcast.
And ultimately, I'm really thankful that we did this.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why I do it. And so when we receive any other sort of support, I'm like, really? I'm expecting to be hurt by this. I'm still,
It reminds me of there's I think a book, it went viral, and it's all based around this lady challenging herself to try new things. And so the challenge was to get a certain, try to do things with the goal. The goal was to be rejected.
I told you about
a
this.
certain number of times. And she got almost no rejections.
Yeah. She wanted to be rejected 20 times in a year. That was her goal.
Yeah.
And so she set out to be rejected 20 times and found that she was almost never rejected. That's how it feels. Okay. It's exactly how it feels. Is my mom will not listen to our podcasts because I say the word fuck. Because I say the word fuck, she will not support what we do. And that's okay. That's okay.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm learning is for that to be okay.
Yeah.
And we're almost 3 years in, and this is what I'm getting at, is A, we have a Ko-Fi. B, I'm going to be doing more on the Patreon. So if you're not already a patron, we have free tiers, we have dollar tiers, we have no other tiers. So you can join. You can join for $1. Sky's the limit. We're going to start doing some more content over there, but we're going to have a 3rd anniversary episode because it's been almost 3 years since we started podcasting. And we are finally going to talk about Shadow of the Vampire.
Which we talked about.
No, we never did. We never did.
No. We mentioned
We were going
Shadow of the
to.
Vampire if we got 25 Patreons.
And we still don't have 25 patrons. But in my defense, I haven't done much with Patreon.
Yeah.
So that's on me. But we're going to do it. 25 Patreons would be amazing. If you don't have a Patreon membership yet, boogie on over there and grab one. We'll do it anyway, but it would be really funny to say we'd finally reached 25. And then we will talk about Shadow of the Vampire, which was intended to be our 2nd ever episode, and we couldn't find it streaming. And we have actually had a fan Allie sent us a Shadow of the Vampire DVD, so we can now watch it and review it.
Yep.
So I think that's probably a good place to leave it. Now, finally.
So remember, Sometimes the strangest things are the most beautiful, too.
So be who you are and love what you love. Until next time, friends.
Bye.